and now Hail Hamstring?
Maybe. If you have a name for it, send it in. Hashtag BYUSN. Let's hear it.
Joining BYU Sports Nation, as he does on a weekly basis now, our good friend John Beck, former BYU quarterback, Mountain West Conference Offensive Player of the Year, and an NFL QB. John, welcome back, man.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
All right, you've heard our discussion about Tanner and the impressive things that he's done. To you, what is the most impressive thing you have seen from Tanner Mangum this season?
Well, I know most people would probably try to pick between a play, right, or a game. But I'm going to say just the role that he's assumed as such a young player. To come in as a freshman and to do it only a few months removed from a mission and assume the responsibilities of the BYU quarterback, be in a role where this team came into the season with very high expectations and in the first game of the season lost their senior quarterback. The role that he has stepped into and the way that he has been able to handle it with poise, I think, is the most impressive thing he's done this season.
I've really been impressed just by the fact that it's not been easy, yet he's overcome that and still won the games. What are you seeing in the fourth quarter specifically that's making a difference?
Well, the thing that I like is, first and foremost, the belief of the team. It's more than just one player that's needed for a team to make fourth quarter comebacks. And anybody that's been in a position where a team has been in those spots knows that it's a collective thing from both sides of the ball. Games can be won and lost in the fourth quarter on both sides of the ball. And what the defense has done in the fourth quarters of games, in combination with what the offense has been able to do, it takes both. And I think that's what's been impressive. And the only way you do that is with a mindset. You know, the defense has had quarters of football where they've given up points and the team has been behind. And for them to always buckle down in the fourth and then for the offense to respond sometimes on what is the last drive of the game or their last chance of the game. And this year, I think they have done it every single time on a drive that they needed to do something, except you could say for the UCLA game. But on all the other ones, the drive they needed to do something, it has been done. So the collective team effort, what the defense is able to do in the fourth quarter, I'll tell you this, I've been in games where offensively you have done what it takes to win. You've scored on the last drive of the game to either tie the game and send it to overtime, and then, you know, you throw a touchdown pass on the first play of overtime, but yet something happens from a team standpoint and you don't win the game. So both sides of the football, offense and defense, it's been very impressive. When both sides have needed to step up, they've done it.
Former BYU quarterback and NFL, CFL guy John Beck with us on the Deseret First Credit Union hotline. John, with his hamstring situation and the opponent Wagner, an FCS team that is winless, how much do you want to see Tanner Mangum play in Saturday's game?
You know, when I knew this question was going to be coming, I immediately thought about a game where I was in a similar situation, playing against a team that was winless, in a situation where the following week we said this was going to be one of our biggest contests of the year. Now, that's not the case for BYU, but because of what's at stake, you know, they have a really good chance of running the table for the rest of the season, and that could put them in a great situation for when bowl time comes around. So, you know, it's a tough decision on both Coach Mendenhall's part and also on Tanner's. When it happened to me, Coach Mendenhall approached me and said, I know you want to play in this game, but I think this is in the best interest of the team and also yourself, because I know you want to play, it's your last year, but if something were to happen, even if we just gave you a few drives, if something were to happen where you wouldn't be able to be at your best of whatever we can get percentage-wise out of you for the important game, that would be a judgment call that we felt we made a mistake in. So, you know, he kind of let me know and outline how they felt, and it's hard. It's hard as a competitor, though, to sit down and not play because you want to be out there every single game with your teammates. The same thing that made Tanner want to get off of that massage table and get on the field against East Carolina, it's going to be the same thing. Even though Wagner hasn't won a game, it's that thing inside you that says, I want to be on the field. But yet, as a team player, you also have to recognize if I were to go out there and the coach were to only play me 2 series, but something were to happen in one of those series, I would feel like I didn't make the right decision for my team for the following weeks. So I'm sure Coach Mendenhall will approach Tanner that way. I'm sure he'll let Tanner know how he feels. And I tried to be smart from a team aspect. Of course, I wanted to. It'd been fun to go out there and light the team up and throw for 400 yards. And, you know, it's one of those pad the stats type
Jason
games.
Beck did that for you.
Yeah. You know, you got to think about the team in the long haul.
John Beck on BYU Sports Nation. It's hard for anyone to get off the massage table, by the way. Tanner Mangum, hamstring. I don't want to get off the massage table, right? Are you referencing the Utah State game, by the way, in 06? Is that the game you're talking about?
Yeah, that's the game I'm referencing. You know, I'll say this too. Jason Beck and I were really good friends. So there was also a part of me, you know, I was a backup in the NFL, and it was one of the hardest things to have to sit on the sideline and watch somebody else play the position you want to play. And when I was at BYU, I really hardly ever spent any time in a backup role. But Jason came to practice all the time. He was always really good. Anytime I wanted to bounce things off him, he was always willing. And I do remember I wanted to be on the field. We had just come off a Boston College loss, and I knew my ankle. People didn't know this, but I had hurt my ankle and made it worse in the Boston College game. And to come off of a double overtime loss, to know your ankle was worse, I wanted to play so bad, but I knew I needed to sit out for that TC so I could be closer to whatever percentage, 70-something%, 80% for that TCU game. And there was a part of me, though, that was like, you know what? I want Jason to have an opportunity to play because I know I'm going to play the whole rest of the season. And there was a part of me that said, this is my friend, you know, and I want to see good things happen for Jason. And I knew he was going to go play well. So, you know, and Tanner seems like a great guy like that. I mean, I read something where after an interception that Bo Hodge threw, he went up to him and said, hey, buddy, it's okay, man. Everybody throws interceptions. Like, that shows me the character of Tanner, regardless of what the guy accomplishes in football, which I think he's going to be a great, great player for BYU. Ultimately, that he has great character. And that, you know, that's what stands out. And sometimes, you know, you feel good about, hey, let's let this person go play because, in all honesty, I'm sure Tanner feels the same way. I'm playing all 40 whatever of the rest of the games I'm playing while I'm at this place.
Hey, John, hang tight with us for a second. We're going to get you to a better cell phone coverage area. John Beck with us on BYU Sports Nation. And he brings up an interesting point. I love that he talked about the fourth quarters and what that does for a team mentally. Like, for me, him coming in and throwing that game-winning touchdown pass against Nebraska set the tone for everything this team does and believes. And that is why they play well in the fourth quarter, because they've been there before.
I think, you're right. If they don't complete that Hail Mary, maybe the confidence isn't there to throw the ball to Mitch Juergens against Boise State. And I look at what John's talking about is he set it up. Hey, there are big games down the stretch for BYU. Is this one where Tanner Mangum needs to play? Now, Bronco Mendenhall already showed his cards on Monday. He said that he's not giving Tanner Mangum a break, meaning Tanner Mangum is playing. I think John is taking a big picture approach of, okay, we had a big game the next week. Now, BYU has a bye week. Now, if Missouri was next week, I don't think you play Tanner Mangum at all this week. But it's not. It's in a couple of weeks. You have bye week, San Jose State, Missouri. So it's a little different that way. But John sat out the Utah State game, and then BYU got their first big win of the Bronco Mendenhall era at TCU, and that set the tone for the rest of that season.
John Beck back with us on the Deseret First Credit Union Hotline. John, we were just talking about the fourth quarter dynamic that you brought up and the confidence that instills in the teammates of Tanner Mangum when he's able to do something like that. Now we look at the guy behind him, Bo Hodge. Because of his 5 passes of experience, I mean, he's been in a critical situation before. What do you want to get out of Bo Hodge now that this can be kind of a more controlled environment against Wagner?
Well, I think first and foremost, it's a great opportunity to have a good experience. This is one of the things that, going back to Tanner, I think has been so beneficial about this year. It's been a good, positive, and confidence-building experience for him. I think that we've seen it all the time in sports. If you take an inexperienced player, you put them in a situation where a lot of the factors don't add up to them having success, and a lot of times athletes equate success with winning. And after losses, athletes can be hard on themselves. If you don't put them in a good situation confidence-building-wise, it can be detrimental to their growth in the beginning. So I think for Bo, what a great game. If he does play a lot, what a great situation for him to go out and have positive experiences, making plays, running the offense. It's not going to be a high-pressure game. You know, the coaches, I'm sure, will approach him in a way that, hey, good or bad, whatever happens, this is great for your experience. And yet, on the other side of the football, it's not going to be some pass rush that's bearing down on him. It's not going to be an overbearing have-to-win situation or, you know, playoff hopes. Excuse me, that was like an NFL term. But bowl hopes, you know, like depend on this win. It's a football game to go out and play, do your best, and have a positive experience when you walk off the field, taking everything as a positive.
At least it wasn't a CFL term. You know, it's all good. 3-game win streak now for BYU. Going to make it 4 Saturday. Hopefully 5 at San Jose State. BYU's got a chance to run the table down the stretch here, as you mentioned. Do you see anything in this team that you saw in the 06 team and then the year after you, the 07 team, where they did reel off 10 in a row to end the season?
You know, I would just say it's, from my experience, when I got to BYU, there was like this hump that we had to get over. We were coming off losing seasons, trying to build a winning atmosphere. So it was kind of like getting over that hump. You had those games where, you thought you were going to win at the end. You made a play or something happened, and you didn't get the W. Like, you did a lot of things, but the W, like, evaded you. I mean, that's why one of the hardest losses for me to get over was the TCU game my junior year, because it was probably my best performance as a player to that point. And we did everything we needed to offensively at the end of the game to win it, but we walk off the field having lost. So the great thing about this team, I feel like, what situation is going to make them feel like they're not going to walk off the field with a W? If the game is close, right now this team feels like they're going to win. And at the end of our season, after we strung out a bunch of wins, we played Utah at the end, and there was a third-quarter lull. And we walked into the fourth quarter, and I'm sure the reason why so many fans loved watching that game is because we were losing. And in their minds, they were sitting in the stands wondering if we were going to win. But the great thing about that team was I feel like all of us weren't wondering if we were going to win. We felt like, all right, let's go make the plays to win. And I mean, just a huge jolt of confidence and energy that this team has gotten from game one. When Mitch Matthews caught that ball, ran out to midfield with his helmet off, and started swinging his arms around, bam, you just got a jolt of confidence in this team. And then Tanner Mangum comes out in his first start and lays up a 4th and whatever into the end zone against Boise, and bam, you get that same feeling, a double shot of confidence. And I think that's going to carry him. I think that hump thing, that feeling, those guys got it. And this is when football's fun, because you have it, and no matter what situation you're in, you believe you can come back and win. And it makes me think of, I stayed up as a little kid and watched the BYU-San Diego State game with Ty Detmer, where they came from behind to tie it up. And I can just remember, that was one of the games that made me fall in love with Ty and want to be just like him. And I think that thing of there's something within a team, and it takes, like I said in the beginning of the interview, not just one man, not just an offense, not just a defense, but a collective team unit that every one of them knows we're going to walk off the field winning this game. How's it going to happen? I think this team has it, and that's why I love their chances of running the table.
Follow him on Twitter at JBeck12, an instant classic follow on the Twitter machine. John, always great to talk to you, man. Thanks.
All right, you're welcome, guys. We'll see you.
John Beck on the Deseret First Credit Union Hotline. Deseret First, your values, your timeline, your financial future.